exquisite architecture, meticulous attention to detail, outstanding craftsmanship. Mercedes-Maybach has long been synonymous with the very pinnacle of luxury. Now, the automotive legend adds a new word to its lexicon: electric. Mercedes-Maybach, lead the charge.
Now for our next conversation, please welcome back Allie Jackson-Jolly and panelists Erica J. Bolden, Head of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and People Analytics, Mercedes-Benz USA, and Ryan Williams, Founder and CEO, Cadre.
Yeah, so those of you who were there this morning know that we started the day off talking about DEI, the attack on DEI, and we had some powerhouses up here, Stacey Abrams, Dr. Joy Moon, Ayanna Parsons talking about what's the plan, what can we do individually to push back against that attack on DEI, when it comes to government, when it comes to legal. But part two of that, we wanted to have some different powerhouses up here to talk about, from a corporate business perspective, what's going on with DEI, what are the business leaders who are driving equity through innovation doing, and that we wanted to provide a roadmap for other business leaders thinking about how they could be improving equity, access, inclusiveness in this current landscape. So that being said, I just wanted to set the stage. Before we get into what's working, though, I just want to ask really quickly, in 2020, there were a lot of folks that thought that in a few years, people would forget about DEI, forget about their commitment. But the reality, is actually a lot worse than that. And so I just want to start with this question. For you, in 2024, what's the path forward?
Yeah, so for me, I would say nothing has really changed. The one thing that, and I've been doing DEI work for quite some time, when it was just the D, no equity, no inclusion, the focus was just diversity. And so when people are interested to get into this space and they're really scared, like, what do we do? And I have to remind people that this role, this function would not exist if this was not always under attack. So nothing is new, right? Now it's just a matter of how do we re-navigate, and there's always going to be the twists and the turns and just thinking about what do you have to do differently. So as far as the path forward, it's knowing what are those legal nuances, everything that the women were talking about this morning, having everything top of mind so now you know how to navigate. Sometimes it's a matter of semantics. We can talk about that later, right? Is it, instead of a target, is it a representation, aspiration, right? The different things that you have to do if you are creating scholarships and you're thinking about, instead of saying, I want to increase the number of Black employees, right? Do you just set up a scholarship at an HBCU or an HSI, Hispanic Serving Institution, right? So it's now knowing what is the navigation, but nothing's changed, folks. Everything, we have to keep moving forward and trudging ahead.
And so Ryan, how about for you? I'm going to tweak that question a bit, because backstage you were talking about neurodiversity and how there's a feeling that is one of the paths forward. So what did you mean by that? Can you explain that to this audience?
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to be with everybody. So, I agree with Erica. I don't think anything's changed. And I think that's the exact problem and issue. And I don't think that we as a people or as a society understand how catastrophic this war on diversity, equity, and inclusion is for society today, for the future, and for generations to come. And so what I believe is we have to put on our armor of resilience. We have to put on and put out swords of persistence, swords of authenticity, and ruthlessness, because that's what the enemy is bringing forth to us. And so this is not about a battle. This is not about a tweet. This is not about, who puts the right meme and the right quote together. This is a war. And this is a long-term war. And it's a war that we're losing right now. The pendulum swung really, really far. And so I think what we have to do is fight with facts, and we have to fight with substance, and we have to fight with examples of Black excellence, because we're seeing examples of Black ignorance and incompetence every single day by the enemy. And so when we were talking backstage about what kind of diversity, because the word has gotten so charged and the whole terminology has gotten so charged and people have been so dismissive because of it, that it's tragic. I think we need to fight with real, substantive, empirical information, and we need to show that the real diversity that we all can benefit from is cognitive diversity. So it's diversity in people's backgrounds and how we think and what we bring to the table, because that inherently is going to mean that you have to have more Black experiences, and it's not a homogeneous, experience. It's multiple experiences. And nobody can argue with having more perspectives at the table, because the more unique insights you have, the more unique solutions that you can determine, you can identify, and you can ultimately promote and push forward. And so, again, this is a battle that leads and is leading to a war, and we gotta come prepared, and we've gotta come with an all-out assault, because right now, the enemy is launching rockets and grenades every single day, and we're gonna be the casualties, and so will our children.
Yeah. And so, Erica, how about, let's reframe the question a bit. Let's talk about what's working. Like, what are you doing that, in spite of the rockets and the grenades that are flowing, is working to create access and equity that is moving your corporation forward?
Yeah. So, I think when you're talking about DEI, and then you have people in companies that are tasked with the role, sometimes because it's viewed as a passion project, or maybe a leader will say, hey, you're a woman, why don't you lead our diversity efforts? Aren't you gay? Yeah, you're a guy, right? It's so much more. This is, I let them know pretty quickly, straight up front, I'm not the girl to come in and plan Taco Tuesday. That's not what this is, right? This is change management. That is the crux of what this work is. And so very quickly, I came in asking about the data. I'm asking all these questions. So also that part you see in my title, people analytics, that's because I was super curious to know what is the systemic change that happens. Of course, you have the community building. There is a representation of diversity, which is simply a count of what's different. There is no direct correlation between diversity, equity, inclusion. Those are all three very different things. And that correlation, there is no causation between them, right? So you have to work on them concurrently and individually to make change happen. And so the people analytics is because I wanted to really underpin what's happening from a data perspective, to substantiate what's happening. You lean on a lot of rhetoric, there's a lot of platitudes. Oh, there's a business case for diversity, there's the moral case for diversity, but really what does that mean, right? So I came in, in 2020, one of the things I wanted to do, we didn't have anything in writing to say what was our stance when it comes to DEI. You saw all of these egregious acts happening, and then someone was fired, and someone steps in, oh, that person's fired because what they did is not aligned with our values. Well, if that were to happen to us, who said what we stood for? We didn't have anything, right? So I wanted to make sure it was in writing, and essentially all that is a pat on the back to say we're not going to do anything that's illegal. It's not illegal to be racist. It's not illegal to be sexist. It is not illegal to be homophobic, but it is when you discriminate on the basis of those things from an employment perspective. And so I wanted to let our employees know you don't have to agree with what I'm saying, but you understand what I'm saying, right? We're creating a foundational language and a baseline of understanding. So that's what we did. We had trainings on different things like data compliance, no DEI training. So I wanted to formalize it. We actually incorporated that into the company bonus payout plan, so that participation rate. We track the number of hours that are going toward DEI programming, engagement, our business resource groups. I've got some great BRG members with me here today, right? All of those hours are tracked and accounted for. They're incorporated into the bonus payout. And then I wanted to provide some transparency into what the diversity composition looks like. So that's what I was mentioning, the representation aspirations. So I came in and establish those 22 through 2025. And what that is creating the baseline. The minimum threshold, it's not a tick the box exercise to say, hired our Black woman, we're done, right? Ambitious but realistic enough. So we've established that. We've already exceeded what I set forth for our 2024 aspirations. So when you're looking at the overall workforce composition as well as our leadership, BIPOC, so Black, Indigenous, people of color, essentially anyone who identifies as something other than Caucasian or white. We're at about a 50-50 split with our corporate. And then when you're looking at leadership, we have about 30% of our senior leaders who are BIPOC. So it's really looking to see, I'm interested to see who is being hired, fired, promoted, and developed, but more importantly, I'm interested in who is doing the hiring, firing, promotion, and development. So it's those systemic changes, because when you're doing that, it's just a churn and burn. If you're just focusing on diversity representation, yes, we can go and we can recruit and hire the best and brightest talent, but I want to make sure that when I hire you, that you can thrive.
Well, how about, let me ask you, I guess part B of that then, because as you talk about coming in, creating concrete and transparent measurements, how did you, like, I think that this group may want to know, those who are working in the corporate level who can make change, how did you sell that? Because it's there's an understanding that to be transparent can be scary, right? We have not done this well ever as a nation, and to try to improve equity is one thing. To try to improve it and to show, open your closets and let everyone see where you failed. So talk to me a bit about how you made that case to, the executives at Mercedes in order to get them on board with you.
Because it is what it is, right? So you can try to hide and disclose those things and not keep it close to the vest, but your employees are walking around, and what's so interesting, you have this smoke and mirrors effect a lot of times. So you see companies and they're listed, best place to work for diversity, working moms, and and then the employees looking like, what's the company? Is that the company I work for? Are you really? So, and you have employees walking around, and which I highly discourage you not do that, because you can't really look at someone and tell what they are or who they are, right? But you have employees walking around and say, okay, let's see, leaders of color, there's Erica, rather than do that, having the dashboards and putting it out there. It's all discoverable data. If we're getting sued, we have to turn it over anyway.
Yeah.
Right, so it's having that transparency, and those are the conversations that you need to have to just really be real about things. We've had some gripping conversations, and yes, it's just talk, but the talk is what propels. And I always tell people, I'm not a huge fan of cancel culture, because if you don't have those hard conversations, how do we move forward? Now, there is a tipping point. There is that inflection where somebody knows better, and they keep it, so then we can cancel them then. However, but just to initiate the conversations, you have to have those gripping conversations so people understand. We're a global company. We have a global headquarters in Stuttgart, Germany. If you're thinking about the atrocities against the Jewish people, they had some hard conversations. They, one could say that they reconciled those things. We did not do a good job of doing that here in the U.S. So you're not a guest in this country. You may be a guest in the country, but you're not a guest in the company. And so, yep, you too. You're from Germany. Come on in. You too. You're involved. DEI hits everyone. It's not just people of color. And so, Ryan, to your point, right, this diversity thing, it engages everyone. It's not just a problem for those who are of color. I think the term ally is thrown around far too loosely. So again, you cannot be an ally if you don't understand the challenges and the risks, everything that is at stake. So we have to talk about it.
Yeah, and Ryan, let's talk about you for a minute, because the innovation in DEI, you are a tech company. Talk to me about what's happening with you, how you are creating equity, and talk about it either from your product or from the makeup of your company and how you're engaging. I want to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the founder and CEO of Cadre. We are a technology platform aimed at democratizing access to real estate investing. Real estate's the most important asset class to own to build long-term multi-generational wealth. The average individual owns less than 3% of their portfolio in real estate, and most of that ownership comes from ownership of homes, which we all know is hardly attainable these days, given where interest rates are and the prices. So the American dream that people talk about, is becoming a nightmare for a lot of people. And so we're trying to change that. We're trying to let more people own real estate. In order to be able to do that, you've got to build a diverse organization because it's not been done before. No one has created a technology platform that allows people to buy fractional stakes of real estate buildings with the click of a few buttons. And so what we did from the outset is embrace diversity, not just cognitive, but background and experiential diversity and functional diversity. And we said, we want to bring together the best engineers, product managers with the best people operations, HR leaders with the best finance leaders in the world, all under one umbrella. And we believe that the sum of the parts and those individuals working together will create an organization that is exceptional and far surpasses anything that exists in the world today. And it's work. That's been our superpower, is the diversity of our team's experiences. And it's funny because when I sit with a white guy and I talk about diversity and hiring and pipeline, I can see and sense how triggered they get. When I talk about diversity of experience, and I talk about the fact that a black guy from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, which is my hometown, built this business because I had experience in a diverse way, both in real estate and in technology, then it clicks. Then he sees that, those unique experiences are what allowed you to, with a lot of amazing people, build a business that's doing something that's never been done before. And so I always say, to achieve unconventional outcomes, you've got to do unconventional things. And today, unfortunately, it's still far too conventional in terms of what success looks like. And we got to change that blueprint. And that's what goes back to my earlier point. We all have to start promoting, like citizen journalism, we all have to promote what excellence looks like because it's not being portrayed in any way, shape, or form to the extent that it is. Everybody here is a form of black excellence or whatever your background is, excellence in so many different ways. And there's not enough of these stories being told. But I bet you there's hundreds, if not thousands, of resilient stories that are in this room right now that the world needs to hear about. And so that's what we've tried to do, is really bring together diverse experiences and build something that's never been done before. So it's core to what we do and it's core to who we are.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to clap for that. I love that. All right, so we're almost, we knew this was going to go fast. It did. We're almost out of time.
Oh, dang, we got a minute? That's crazy, okay. We got to start singing like Fantasia or something right now, so let's...
Please don't.
Ryan, you're wasting time.
Don't worry, I won't. That was my plan.
But I want to ask, let's end it on a high note. What makes you excited, Erica? What makes you excited? What makes you optimistic? What's the opportunity that can drive your business forward and that you think is going to put us all in a better place in terms of equity?
Yeah, I'm just excited to see all of you here. You're taking it all in and just knowing that the future, it feels like it's bleak, but just having that empowerment. You'll see that collab that's out there. That's the Eastside Golf Mercedes-Benz collaboration. Those two founders, graduates from Morehouse College. When I met them, I'm like, hey, let's do something, right? So you see the powerhouse of a brand like Mercedes-Benz and with young entrepreneurs and just the way that they are blowing up. And so leaving a legacy, we sponsor Morehouse College golf team. They've got a brand new Sprinter van. We took them down to the Masters in Augusta. So seeing that legacy and the future, it seems bleak, but it's not. We've been doing this. Our ancestors have been doing this. So just seeing that we are resilient and we're still moving forward.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, just to piggyback, I mean, like, in life, I feel like sometimes you got to just be reflective and take a step back and think about how far you've come. And, we didn't come this far to come this far. We as a people have endured centuries of adversity, and we came out on top every single time. And when I think about the future, I got a brother who's about 10 years younger than me, and I talk to him a lot. Like, I'm just really, really excited about the potential for information and ideas to spread faster than they ever had before. Everybody talks about the pitfalls of social media and technology, but I'm an optimist, and I do believe that there's going to be positive virality going forward. And the pendulum on diversity, equity, inclusion, which cannot be grouped together, but they oftentimes are, it swung way too far, in the opposite direction, And so things are going to get back to a place where we can have sane conversations as long as we remain open-minded. And I'm excited about one of the people in here, or multiple people in here, being catalysts, to positive change and catalysts to enlightenment, the enlightenment of why having more people at the table espousing ideas is impactful and is what makes us human. And so I believe in humanity. I believe in our people as being beacons of humanity and the foundation of humanity. I mean, we know the first person came from Africa. And I believe in diversity, equity, and inclusion being critical and foundational to what makes us who we are. So you can't run away from your foundation. You can't run away from your beginnings. And I know we'll step up to the plate and elevate society as we always have when the odds are stacked against us.
Well, now we are out of time. Thank you both for being here, and really, truly, let's keep this conversation moving.
Thank you all.
Thank you.